You are told that love is the answer to all questions, that if you love deeply, give everything without reservation, and remain gentle, the world will protect you, respect you, and respond in kind. But Machiavelli did not see love as a gift. He viewed it as a burden, an open door, a weakness ready to be exploited. A person who relies on love will be destroyed by it. A person who instills fear survives, not because love is bad, but because it is blind while the world is not. No. Where love begins, strategy ends. You love your family, your friends, your partner. You share everything with them. You forgive them quickly. You justify their actions even when they hurt you. And why? Because love removes the filter. You stop calculating. You stop defending your position. You assume that if you never harm them, they will not harm you. But Machiavelli would have laughed at this. He knew that even the closest can betray if it serves their interests, especially when they know you will not retaliate. The danger lies not in enemies, but in intimacy. Your enemies fear your silence, but those you love grow accustomed to your gentleness, your accessibility, your obedience. Over time, they expect your loyalty without merit, demand forgiveness instantly, and become angry when you finally withdraw. Because love, when unprotected, turns you into a tool, not always intentionally, but inevitably. Machiavelli did not believe in the removal of love. He believed in its limitation. You love with a ceiling, with a price, with a plan. Because without boundaries, love becomes emotional vulnerability. And that is the most exploitable position an influential person can find themselves in. Let us clarify one thing. To be cool-headed is not to be cruel. It is to be aware. Aware of how people change when they are too close. Aware of what you lose when you become too emotionally open. Aware of what love turns into when it is not subjected to doubt. Rightly so. Machiavelli understood what most do not realize. Those who love you unconditionally can still accidentally hurt you, while those who stay close only because of what you give will harm you intentionally. Therefore, the solution is not to stop loving, but to stop being guided by love. The moment you act based on feelings, you lose leverage. Have you ever wondered why your advice is not taken seriously in your family? Why friends stop listening once they get what they want? Why your partner is not afraid of losing you? Because they know that your love outweighs your logic. They know you will apologize first, come back, explain yourself, and never apply consequences to your feelings, and that makes you predictable, gentle, safe. And Machiavelli warned us that it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But with those who are closest, being feared seems wrong. So you start playing the game, and they begin to win it. The price of staying warm is that you lower your standards. You accept behaviors for which you would have condemned others. Forgiveness does not require change. It is silence for the sake of maintaining peace. But the peace you uphold is merely someone else's calm born from your weakness. And when someone becomes accustomed to your weakness, they will start to test it, then poke at it, and eventually use it for their own interests. You do not need to stop loving. Just love with boundaries that are sharp as a blade. Let them see your warmth, but always with a protective wall behind it. For once your love becomes unconditional, so too does your pain. It is not the outside that wounds you. It is always those you allow closest. Machiavelli understood this. He was not paranoid. He was precise. He knew that those who know your buttons, your boundaries, your weak spots, are likely to press them. Not out of hatred, but because they have stopped fearing you. And when fear leaves a relationship, respect goes with it. Check the first sign. It is a test of entitlement. They stop thanking you, Stop asking for permission. Stop considering how much you give. Why? Because in their perception, you already belong to them. They are confident that you will always help, always come to their aid, always say yes. And the moment you do not, you become selfish, changed, cold to them. But Machiavelli would say, let them talk. It is merely the sound of those mourning the loss of their advantage. The second test is the guilt reflex. You set a boundary, they become emotional. You say no, they recall the past. You protect your time, and they label you as distant. This is no longer a conversation. It is a maneuver because they have learned. If they can make you feel guilty, they can make you change any decision. And if you waver, they remember it and use it again. This is not love. It is emotional negotiation. And if you cannot hold your ground when guilt enters the room, you never had it at all. The third test is the loyalty loop. You have been loyal, supportive, and consistent, but when it is only you doing this, it becomes expected. They stop checking in on you, stop reciprocating, and only appear when it is convenient for them. And when you finally step back, they panic not out of love, but because they have lost their emotional safety net. Machiavelli would say that if your loyalty is predictable, it will be exploited before it is valued. The fourth test is just this once. It starts small. But you can cover for them, you can overlook that mistake just this once. But once you give in, it is never just once. You become someone who can be bent because you have proven that you will not break. They now know that you will bend your values as long as they stay close enough. This is not love. It is strategic pressure, the fifth trial, their defense. You are too abrupt. You say clearly you are too cold. You withdraw. You are stone-hearted. You stop being infinitely patient. You are soulless. This is how they turn your strength into sin. But the truth is, they do not miss your warmth. They miss access to the version of you that allowed them to act without consequences. And now that this version has disappeared, they call it cruelty, but it is simply clarity. Why would Machiavelli expect all of this? He would say that the closer a person stands to you, the more they expect you to absorb their chaos. And if you do not, they will call you cold, say that you have changed. They will paint your evolution as betrayal. Let it be so, because the person who is afraid of hurting everyone they love ultimately finds themselves surrounded by people who love how easily they can hurt them. The solution is to stop proving that you are good. You do not need to justify your coldness, defend your detachment, or apologize for growing out of the emotional systems they relied on. Just establish the rule, silently and consistently, without hesitation. Let the accusations come. Let the discomfort grow. Because once they realize that the old version of you has vanished, they will either evolve or you will let them go, and either outcome strengthens your position. Composure is not the shutting down of the heart. It is the protection of your strength with precision, especially from those who assume you will never use it against them. Because if you do not protect your emotional center, you will become an emotional dumping ground for someone else's chaos. Machiavelli did not build walls to keep people out. He built filters to check who is worthy of entering, and once inside, no one remained unqualified for reevaluation. Let us talk about how you create such a powerful boundary. Rule number 1, never explain your emotional distance. You are not obligated to explain why you need space, why you go silent, why you refuse toxic patterns. The more you explain, the more emotional leverage you give them. Machiavelli would say that explaining is inviting negotiation, while acting without permission demonstrates strength. So when someone asks why you are behaving differently, what happened to us? Why did you not reach out? You do not argue. You do not lay out your reasons. You simply say, I have recalibrated. And this silence, this refusal to emotionally bleed, commands respect or reveals who has never been capable of giving it. Rule number 2. Establish consequences, not conditions. Most people set conditions. Do not talk to me like that again. If you do this, I will be upset. Please do not disrespect me. But Machiavelli never asked for better behavior. He created structures that made disrespect costly. You do not say, do not do that. You show that when you do this, I disappear. You do not return when they panic. You return when you decide to, if at all. Boundaries do not ask, they act, and that is how they gain strength. Rule number 3. Never negotiate through emotions. As soon as someone realizes that you are crying under pressure, panicking when you are ignored, rushing to fix things when they fall silent, they stop respecting your mind and start playing on your emotions. But Machiavelli would never allow this because emotional clarity is a shield. Once the opponent breaks through, they no longer target your mind. They target your wounds. You protect yourself by remaining unreadable under pressure. No lengthy texts, just feelings. No impulsive returns after being hurt. Your silence becomes your advantage. Your stillness becomes your position. If they want your softness, they will have to earn it again. Rule number 4. Define what you tolerate and do not waver. Most people have boundaries that shift depending on who is asking, how long they have known them, and how emotionally drained they are. This is weakness. It is inflation of emotional currency, and it kills your value. You need black and white rules, such as I do not respond to yelling. Once I establish space, it remains until I choose to open it again. I do not reward apologies without a change in behavior, and then you follow these rules without exception. People do not test what is consistent, they test what is flexible. Machiavelli did not often punish, but when he did, it was surgical, cold, and final. You must do the same. Otherwise, they will continue to play with your forgiveness. Rule number 5. Do not be afraid to be perceived as tough. This is where most people give in. They know they are being used. They know their peace is being disturbed. But the moment they stand firm, they feel guilty because society says that if you are not infinitely patient, you are cruel. If you do not explain yourself, you are arrogant. If you do not let them back in, you are unforgiving. But Machiavelli was not afraid of being called cold. He was afraid of being called easy, and you should be too. Let them call you what they want. Let them rewrite your character to fit their pain. Because if you fear reputation more than reality, you surrender power for perception, and perception changes nothing. You are not cold. You are uncompromising. Love without boundaries becomes victimhood, and victimhood without recognition becomes slavery. Machiavelli would never die on someone else's emotional battlefield. He would observe, retreat, and return when he is respected. This does not mean being cold-blooded. It means being in control. Here, most people waver. They say, but I do not want to become soulless. I do not want to lose myself. I fear that if I become cold, I will not come back. This fear is real, but it is because people confuse cold-blooded strategy with emotional detachment. Machiavelli did not lose his humanity. He mastered when and how to use it, because in his world, feeling everything means being controlled by everything. Cold-blooded thinking is not cruelty. It is control. You do not stop feeling. You stop emotionally reacting when your position requires calculation. You still love, care, connect, and reflect, but only within the walls you have built. walls that protect you from becoming just another pawn in someone else's emotional game. Being cold-blooded does not mean you lack warmth. It means you choose when to turn on warmth for whom. This is not emotional absence. It is emotional intelligence. Control begins with an internal emotional framework. You must change how you process resentment. When someone disrespects you, you do not react. You calculate. When someone lies to you, you do not spin around. You observe. When someone retreats, you do not chase. You interpret. This internal dialogue changes everything. You shift from asking why they did this to you to considering what this has taught you about them. Machiavelli took betrayal and asked what he could extract from this moment that would make him stronger, because a cold-blooded thinker sees pain as positioning, not personal loss. You must master the art of slow reactions. Do you know what frightens people the most? Silence, stillness, and absence. It is the person who sees betrayal and says nothing. They wait, they distance themselves, they remove access, not with anger, but with indifference, because when you react too quickly, you are not dangerous. You are predictable. Machiavelli did not act impulsively. He acted for gain. He taught us that strength is not in the strongest emotion, but in the strongest timing. By constructing strategic thinking about pain, every time you feel disrespect, disappointment, or replacement, you have two options. You can take it personally or transform it into intelligence. A cold-blooded mind does not cry over what is lost. It catalogs who is capable of losing you and adjusts access accordingly. It turns pain into clarity, distance into strength, loss into evolution, because when you react emotionally, you give another person power over your perception of reality. But when you quietly absorb, you become the person no one wants to hurt twice. You do not need to lose your heart. You need to protect it with a system. Most people love as if it is a war, but enter it unarmed. They say, "I will give them everything. I will love them in their worst moments," only to retreat when they realize. But Machiavelli knew that hope is not a strategy, and kindness without discipline is suicide undercover. Therefore, you do not close your heart. You build gates, and behind those gates, there are rules. Only those who prove their consistency earn my vulnerability, because your warmth must be earned, not assumed, and your care must be conditional. Not because you are this way, but because you are valuable. The latest shift requires you to accept that you will be misunderstood. This is what stops most people from stepping into their true power. They want to be strategic, but they also want to be liked. They want to be respected, but they also want to remain good. As Machiavelli would say, if you need others to agree with your evolution, you have already surrendered the freedom to evolve. You will be labeled as cold, seen as distant, and you will lose people who loved the version of you that always bled for the team. Let them go, because their discomfort is not your problem. It is their loss of access to the old you, and the old you was an easy target. Being composed does not mean being soulless. Distance does not mean disconnection. Strength does not mean selfishness. But that is exactly what they will say once you stop over-explaining, over-loving, and suddenly become too much, too sharp, too different. This is where most people fail. They either remain soft and used, or become hard and lose themselves. Machiavelli walked the middle path, the path of strategic empathy. Let us discuss how to remain powerful without becoming the monster you are accused of being. Step 1. Define your intention and their perception. Ask yourself, am I setting boundaries to hurt them or to protect myself? Am I creating distance because I am cold or because I am exhausted? Am I silent because I am passively aggressive or because I have already said enough? If your answer is self-defense, then they are seeking revenge, and you are on the right path. Machiavelli did not care about appearing noble. He cared about maintaining position, and people who maintain position without cruelty are rare. Now that is your role. Step 2. Show mercy without losing your position. There is nothing wrong with giving someone another chance to be kind, without being naive, to help someone from whom you have distanced yourself if they have shown growth. The danger lies not in mercy, but in forgetting why you distanced yourself in the first place. Therefore, when you give, do not lower your standards, do not erase consequences, do not return unconditionally. You can offer softness, but not capitulation, and therein lies the balance. Step 3. Control your presence, not just your distance. People think that distance equals strength, but Machiavelli knew that your presence, when controlled, is far more influential. You appear briefly, speak with clarity, and leave while they still feel your absence. You become a reminder, not an enemy. Neither an emotional wreck nor a drama, but a calm person who is always a few steps ahead. Someone who leaves without chaos, but changes the temperature of the room simply by leaving. This is authority without aggression. Step 4. Maintain standards, not control. You cannot force people to respect you. You can make disrespect costly. This means you do not demand apologies. You do not force communication. You do not compel people to understand. You remove access, eliminate emotional privileges, and allow silence to do the math for them. If they rise to your standard, you return. If not, they never belonged alongside your evolution. Step 5. Let your kindness be selective, not depleted. You do not stop being kind. You stop being careless with kindness. You give it slowly after observation, with internal checkpoints, and with clear exit strategies if something goes wrong. And if people call it transactional, let them, because unconditional giving sounds noble until it is used as a weapon against your world. Now you give only what aligns with your vision, energy, and emotional health. This is not selfishness. It is self-command. Step 6. Do not defend your boundaries. Apply them. If they call you cold, say you are distant, or accuse you of changing, say nothing. You do not need to argue with your transformation. You simply keep moving forward. Because strength is not proven through conversation. It is manifested through consistency. And if they miss the old you, let them remember, but they do not gain access to the updated you until they prove that they too have grown from their old version. Balance is not a line. It is a filter. You do not need to turn to stone. You need to become a mirror, reflecting others clearly, giving warmth only when it is deserved, remaining calm regardless of who throws the first punch. This is Machiavellian empathy, strategically conditional and unwavering in its boundaries,